Welcome ladies and gentlemen, it's Iceblade here for another YouTube video. Today we're doing power supplies. It should be a quick video. It's just about sort of fault finding or checking your power supply. So I have an old power supply here. As you can see, I already took it apart. It has wires missing due to the fact that it was actually chowed by some rodent. I did not see it, so I don't know if it's a rat or a mouse, but they destroyed most of the cables on this thing. And that was no cause for video though, but one of my neighbors had a problem with his power supply, and then he had an old power supply that was open already, so he didn't know if it was working, if he could use it or replace it with that one. So he asked me, can I just check it for him if it's functional? And then it just hit me that not everybody knows how to test these power supplies when it's not in a PC, because power supplies don't go on, or supposed to not go on, when it's not plugged into the motherboard. So the 20-pin ATX main power plug, or that was in the older motherboards, or the 24-pin ATX main power plug needs to be plugged into a motherboard, and then when you switch on power, the power supply is supposed to power on. Now there is sort of like a hack, or I just been using it for years, how to switch on the power supply when it's not connected to a motherboard. So I'll show you that, and then we'll just go through some basics of power supply fault finding, or maybe sorting out some problems when they do occur with your power supply. Okay, just a word of warning. Power supply, word power, meaning electricity. Electricity runs through this, so you could potentially harm yourself, kill yourself, or at least cause some weird new hair fashion trend. So if I don't die in this video, you probably won't either if you do exactly what I did. But just a caution, this is a device that uses power, so if you go poking with your finger in there at the wrong spot, you might get a serious surprise. So just be cautious when you're working with this. Then the other thing about a power supply is I address all PC problems the same, and it's basically through a process of elimination. So most PC problems are not that obvious, so except if you open a case and there's something blown and you can see it, yes, that's obvious that that thing broke. But I mean, normally it's issues in Windows, and then it black screens, or then it restarts, or then it beeps, or whatever. So you need to go through a process where you eliminate certain things in the PC for causing that fault. Power supply is exactly the same. This works with power, so is a power cord plugged into that? Yes. Is the power cord plugged into the wall? Yes. Is the power plug at the wall switched on? You know, these are basics, but you do get it that people or someone, a house cleaner, would switch off that plug and use it for vacuuming or something, and you come home and press, no power. What's going on? This thing worked when I switched it off last night. Check those things. It's basics, but it does happen. So I would do that. Check the power plug, check if there's power coming through to this unit. Then your first contact with the motherboard is the ATX 20 or 24 pin main power plug that plugs into your motherboard. And that thing has caused so many problems in PCs because the technicians or the people that build a PC do it hastily, and it feels like it's solid but it didn't clip correctly, or it sounds like it clipped but it didn't clip over correctly, and then that thing is semi-loose. It's in there. If you switch on the PC, it will run, it makes connection, and over the years of moving and stuff, that thing can wiggle loose, and then boom, suddenly there's no power. So check that plug. That's your first point of contact. Then you check the ATX 12 volt 4-pin plug, also important. Same thing, they don't clip correctly. Check that. And if you have no joy in doing those fault findings, unfortunately it's taking the power supply out. Now you had to open it, and then you basically check for the caps, the capacitors. See if there's not fault with them, because normally it's easy. You can see they bulge at the top, or they leak liquid, or they bulge in the middle, or there's like brown, darkish brown where they actually exploded or burned out. But you look for those things. If it's capacitors, it can be replaced. You don't have to throw away the power supply. If it's not capacitors, the problem deepens, and yes, you might have to replace it. PSU shops don't fiddle around like this. If this power supply does not work and they plug in another power supply and that solves the problem, they chuck this. There's no way to go fishing. They say it's cheap enough, so they just replace the power supply and gone. Me, I would check if I can fix it. If I can't fix it, then I'll still reclaim some of these caps to use in another power supply that might just have that small cap missing or broken. If your fan is not spinning, I've had this, it sounds ridiculous, but I really did. Someone came in, said the power supply switches on, PC goes on, heat issues, the fan is not spinning, the fan broke. Checked the fan, found a huge bug wedged in there. It actually stopped the fan and it seized the fan. So check the fan for obstructions, remove them. The fan is still not spinning. You can just take off these 4 screws, take out the fan, and most fans can be serviced depending on the bearing it uses, but there's a sticker on all fans, so you just remove that sticker halfway. There should be a small plug. It's either plastic or rubber, mostly rubber. You just remove that plug, you drop a drop of mineral oil in there, spin the fan around a bit, close back the plug, close back the sticker, and you service the fan and you'll get some life out of it again. If you do have these cheapish fans that if you remove the sticker it's solid, no go. Those can't be serviced and needs to be replaced. It's not hard to replace, they're not expensive. We did some mods on power supplies where even if they're brand new, you would take out this fan and put in LED fan or something fancy to make your power supply just look funky. So it's not hard to do, you just replace the fan. If that's the problem, then you fix the power supply for cheap. Okay, but now we get to the hacky part. How do we switch this sucker on? And it's not plugged into a motherboard, because I can show you, you just plug it in, yeah, and there would be like a tick and a humming noise in some of them. The fan is not switching on, but there's power. I know, I can hear there's something happening there, but it's nothing. The secret is in this big one, the 20 or 24 pin ATX main power. Let me show you. So how do we hack a power supply? With something like that. This is the end of a paper clip I just clipped off. You can take any piece of wire, even power supply cable, just clean up both ends. And that needs to be connecting certain points on this 20 or 24 pin ATX main power plug. If you know the colors, that's where the magic comes in. The green on this plug would always be power on. There will always be a green and it will always be power on. So we need to connect the power on to a ground. The ground is the black wires. Any black wires. Doesn't matter which way. Green should just be connected to a ground, and as soon as that happens and you plug it into power, the fan should start spinning. Your power supply is then on because it believes that it's now plugged into a motherboard. So just by knowing the colors is basically how you test a power supply. The oranges are 3.3 volts. Let's start on this side though. There's a blue, that's actually a minus 12. So there there is a minus. The other minus is not on this specific one, but if yours has a white one, it's normally a minus 5 volt. So yes, blue minus 12, then we have a black ground, then we have the green, it's power on, black, 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 all ground. The reds are 5 volts. On this side we have the yellows. The yellows are our good ones. Those are the plus 12 volts. Then we have a gray one. Gray has different wording. Some call it power OK. We call it PG for the gray, and a G. Easy to remember is power good. And then you have the purple one, which is actually a standby for a 5 volt. So if you know this is how you would test your power supply. You'll use a multimeter and check if the voltages are close, because there is a fluctuation up or down that is normal in power supplies or the power in your country. And just test that each one is in that range of the color it should be. So if you can't remember all I've said, I'll just try to create a picture or something, or get a picture somewhere and just link it somewhere so that you can test your own or revert back to that picture. So what we're going to do is this bendy bit that's so easy is we'll just plug it into the green and then the black. There you go. If you plug it in, it's going to start. Okay, so I just quickly got my multimeter, because they actually need to test it. You can't just guess it. And then just for illustration purpose, we take out our pin and we plug it in. Just a hum, nothing. Fan is off. It's not switching on because it's not plugged into a motherboard. Just disconnect it from the power before you put this in. Although the voltage in this should not kill you, but I don't like to be shocked. So, and you basically connect the green to a ground. I can just get it in there. There we go. So green and black is now connected. So moment of truth. There we go. Fan spinning. This power supply now thinks it's plugged into a motherboard, and it will give the power to each of these colors basically. So that's how you would do it. You would set your multimeter to volt. We're going to test volt, and switch it on. Should be 0. And then your black probe you'll put on any other black, because you already used one now, but there's many of them, so you'll just put them in one of the black ones. It's handy to have 2 people actually doing this, but I'm so used to doing PC stuff by myself, so you'll just put the red into some different one. That one says 3.40, so this is a 3.3 volt, remember I said, but there's fluctuation up and down. And then on the opposite side we also have a 3.3, which is saying 3.4, so I'm guessing all my 3.3s will read 3.4, which it does. Then we have our blue, which is a negative 12, and it's reading at negative 11.67, so that's still in good range. And you'll go through all of them like that. If you remove that thing, just remember, remove the power first, because if you touch that, there's power in there. So all my ones should work. Just that pin, it's such a small thing, but I've had that thing forever. It works so nicely. This power supply then basically works. It's been nibbled on by rodents and it looks horrendous. It's really, really chowed on. So it's a bit of a hassle now, but this power supply can be useful in a backup situation or just by testing a power supply. For someone that doesn't worry, just want to know what the problem is, you just plug this puppy into the ATX main power plug on the motherboard and the ATX 12 volt. Give it power. If the PC starts up, then you can tell your friend, client, whatever power supply you see, this one it works with, that yours, no go. So always handy to have an extra power supply around, and it's a easy small thing to fault find on. If it can't be fixed, it can't, and it's easy to replace. It's not that expensive. Don't just throw it away. You can take the fans for other projects. There's some people that does weird things with this. I actually have an old power supply here with a 120 fan in, which is awesome, and I just modified it slightly. There's a carbon filter in here, it's awesome, and I run it off a normal adapter for cell phone. Knapped it, linked it, it's awesome. So I'm going to use it actually on this power supply to fix this power supply. It extracts air into the carbon filter, and when I do soldering inside, which you're not actually supposed to do, I use that thing. It's brilliant. It sucks away the fumes. And yes, there was many people arguing about this, but the fumes are actually toxic, not in the sense that you breathe it in and you die over time. If this is your job and you constantly breathe those fumes, it is hazardous to your health. So I use that indoors. It sucks the fumes into the carbon filter, no issue. Otherwise you'd have to use something like this.
I am not your father.
I don't know. I use it somewhere else because I have one, as you can see, but I mean, that is brilliant. I've turned it into something that I can use on projects like this. I'm going to solder here, it's going to extract the fumes, it's not going to be smelly, or I can't do anything, it's good for me, for my health. So if you don't want to, you don't have to, but I mean, that's just an indication. You don't have to throw away everything. You can reclaim stuff, you can reuse stuff, and you can rebuild stuff. So if there's any questions on power supplies or what I did here, or if you want to see all these wires being fixed or modified, leave a comment in there. But I'm going to basically cut the video now and just fix this thing and close it up and then put it in storage for when it needs to be the hero in the story. So thank you for watching. If you haven't yet, please subscribe. I do need some people on there so we can start like a community. I need friends, you know, I need friends. And then like if this helped you, questions in the comments, I'll get on it. I try to really answer every question I get, even if people would say, but that is maybe a stupid question. I don't see questions as stupid. I always teach my children that if you ask, you really want to know something, ask. I mean, if it's stupid for someone else, it's maybe just because he knows the answer. But I mean, if you don't know the answer, you don't know the answer. So ask, and I'll see where I can assist you, help you. Welcome back, everybody. So all the cables have been reattached, or a different power supply's cable has been attached to this power supply. It's kind of chunky now. Don't know if you can see. But I mean, it's difficult to insulation tape each wire individually and then the whole cluster. So only thing left to do is see if it works. So remember, we bridged the black and the green. So we fooled the power supply and thinking it is plugged into a motherboard. Well, it still works. We didn't break anything else. Okay, so this one was one of the ones I attached. It was really badly damaged by my rodent friend. So we're going to plug it into a hard drive cooler. It has two lovely flat fans, but they should indicate if there's power coming through our reattachment. It's working. We got power. Very nice. Okay, so that is working. Now all that's left to do is all the cables that I reattached. I'm just going to run the multimeter through them, make sure that all of them is solid connections, and the volt that must go through them is actually registered on the multimeter. And then I have a backup power supply ready for next emergency. So thanks for watching, guys. Remember to subscribe if you haven't yet. Need some friends to get this thing going, and like if you enjoyed what we did or if you found anything helpful. So thank you for watching, guys. And I'm still alive.